Welcome to Rapid Fire Wednesdays, Q&A for corporate immigration professionals. I'm Kimberley Robidoux, a partner in our San Diego office, and I'm joined as always by Miki Matrician, co-managing partner of our Boston office. How are you doing this week, Miki?
Doing well, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm still on the East Coast, so I'm enjoying it. All right, so this week we are discussing a couple of updates from last week, the change in USCIS policy in which visa cutoff dates will apply to the Child Status Protection Act, as well as visa bonds. So last week, USCIS changed its policy on how dependent children's age will be calculated under the Child Status Protection Act, which is referred to as the CSPA. So under U.S. immigration law, at the age of 21, children are no longer eligible to receive a green card as a dependent applicant. The CSPA is there to alleviate the impact of that rule. It adjusts the children's age so that even if they turn 21 during the green card process, the U.S. immigration law will still treat them as being under 21. How this works is that we take the child's age on the date an immigrant visa became available and then subtract the number of days an immigrant visa petition or Form I-140 was pending to adjust the child's age. For example, let's say the receipt date on an I-140 petition is July 7th, 2015. The notice date on the approval says December 1st, 2015. So the I-140 petition was pending for 4 months and 24 days, or 157 days. You would subtract 157 days from the child's biological age to determine the adjusted age for purposes of the CSPA. So, Mickey, can you tell us what has changed as of August 15th, 2025?
Yes. So USCIS is applying basically a stricter rule compared with before in terms of how the dates are calculated. So, first, let me go over a little bit of the background. So, the Visa Bulletin is a monthly publication of the State Department that provides the cutoff dates for green card number availability. And there's a limited number of US green cards that can be issued per fiscal year. And the Visa Bulletin is what the State Department uses to control the number of immigrant visas or green cards issued per month. The Visa Bulletin also controls the number of applications that can be submitted per month. So, a green card number has to be available the month that you file a green card application in order for the USCIS to accept that application as well. So it used to be that there was just one set of cutoff dates for both filing of applications and for approvals. And as of about a decade ago, the State Department started providing two charts. So, Chart A, or final action dates, which is the date that the USCIS would or State Department could approve a green card. And then Chart B, or dates for filing, if people were filing applications from within the US. And so the Chart B dates are generally more accommodating. The cutoff dates are later, therefore allowing more people to benefit. So as of 2023, USCIS allowed for Chart B dates, the more accommodating chart, the dates for filing chart, to control when a visa is available for CSPA purposes. That meant that more dependent children got the protection of CSPA. And as of August 15th of this year, so in another couple of days, the USCIS will revert back to using Chart A final action dates. Those have the earlier cutoff dates than Chart B. So if the priority date is not current before the dependent children turn 21, they will lose the CSPA protection. And that means they would no longer be able to get their green cards with their parents and would need to find their own way. They'd essentially need to pursue their own green card cases based on another sponsorship, whether it's family based or employment based. And that could often take years. So, in the meantime, in order to remain in the US, they may need to get their own non immigrant visa status, which isn't always easy and there's not always options. So, this change, even though it's very technical, would increase the risk of families being separated, especially for backlog countries like India.
Yeah, so this is really unfortunate, especially with everything else that's going on right now. So, for global mobility and HR professionals, it's good to know about this particular CSPA calculation and to help support their foreign national employee population by working with counsel in order to monitor their employees' children's situations, which, they're really important when it comes to the immigration process for everybody. So, let's now talk about the Visa Bond pilot program. The State Department issued a temporary final rule establishing a 12-month pilot program, which would impose a requirement for B1 and B2 visa applicants to post a bond of $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 at the discretion of the consular officer. $10,000 will be the standard amount that will be demanded for the bond, and the consular officer will determine if the applicant will be subject to a $5,000 bond because the applicant would be unable to pay the full $10,000, or possibly they might have to pay $15,000 if the officer determines that $10,000 would not be enough to deter that individual from overstaying due to the nature and extent of the applicant's contacts in the US. So, in essence, these fees would need to be paid by applicants of countries that are designated to be part of the visa bond list. And the State Department will be selecting countries with high overstay rates, deficient vetting data, or citizenship by investment programs. So, Miki, when does this go into effect and who is impacted?
Yeah, so this rule will go into effect as of August 20th, 2025. Currently, nationals of Malawi and Zambia will be subject to the Visa Bond Pilot Program, and additional countries may be added to the list with 15 days advance notice. So, those subject to the bond will get an annotated single entry visa with a 3-month validity period. And the other thing to know is that typically B visa entrants can stay in the US for up to 6 months, but those people subject to this rule will be permitted to be in the US for only up to 30 days. And so for global mobility and HR professionals, this would potentially disrupt business travel for foreign nationals from those countries that are subject to this program. And since this is really targeted at countries that are alleged to have a high number of visa overstays and inadequate vetting procedures, the countries that risk of being subject to the rule could include those that are part of the 36 countries that are reportedly considered to be added to the travel ban. And those are countries primarily from Africa and the Middle East.
Yeah, it's really good information, Mickey. And another thing that's important to note is that the State Department has also reduced the visa validity parameters for many non immigrant visas issued after mid July. So that means that some visa stamps are now limited to 3 months, and the individual is only permitted a single entry into the United States, which means having to potentially get a new visa stamp every time that they travel internationally or coming back to the US. And this restriction applies to visas including B, F, M, J, H, and O. And it also applies to a very wide list of countries, including China. So it's really important for global mobility and HR professionals to be aware of these new visa restrictions when planning for international travel to the United States of their foreign employees, as well as for employees that might need to travel abroad and return to the US, given that the visas will be limited in time and validity. So I guess with that, this wraps up this week's Rapid Fire Wednesday. We'll continue monitoring legislative, regulatory, and court developments, as well as agency guidance, and provide updates in future episodes as we hear of them. For the latest updates to the immigration landscape, please follow WR Immigration on LinkedIn, as well as Mickey and my personal profiles for breaking updates and insights. We also transcribe each and every episode and share it through our weekly newsletter, which you can subscribe to. The link to subscribe can be found in the video description. And if you find our Rapid Fire Wednesday helpful, feel free to pass it on to some of your colleagues so they can listen to the greatest news updates. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Great seeing you this week, Mickey.
Good to see you, Kim.